Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Sunday, the 10th of January, 2021. There was a basketball game on Friday night between our New York Knicks and Oklahoma City Thunder. This is Raw Hebrew Remnant. I hope you all are healthy. I hope you all have your needs as far as food, shelter, and clothing provided for in this difficult time in which we are. Double blessings on those that risk their lives in health care to help care for people that are sick, that are strangers to them, and risking their lives to save the lives of people they don't even know. Double blessings on those who are delivering our goods and services in these large 18-wheeler trucks, risking their lives driving through hazardous weather, and this weather has been crazy this year. Continue double blessings on them and prayers for their safety. Okay, so the Knicks lose the game, 101-89. To the Thunder, a game that prior to, as I think I mentioned to you, the Knicks should win. Now, first, let's start and give the Thunder some props. I knew they had Al Horford on their team, that they had acquired him from Philadelphia. Also knew that they had George Hill. Both of those guys are like 34, 35 years old. Yes, they're veterans. I didn't think they would make that much of an impact against the Knicks. But give them props. They're well coached. This new coach they got, whatever he is, he's a good coach. They were playing good defense, holding the Knicks to 89 points. We'll get to that in a second. But, and then of course, Pokusevski, I mean, we know the kid was going to be good, and he's still nowhere near what he's going to be. But I was not expecting him to be able to be on the NBA floor this year, skinny as he is. But he was a factor in terms of defense. He was a factor in terms of defense. He only blocked one shot, but he altered a lot of shots. He definitely was a factor there. And of course, Theo Maledon, we knew that he was a good player. I mean, he was really poised. They got a couple of good guys now. It doesn't show up on the stat sheet, what these guys are looking like, but I see them becoming very good players in the future. Maledon is very poised, very polished, for a guy that's only like 19 years old. Pokusevski, again, we know he's talented, but, he's going to need to fill in a little bit more, and he will. And when he does, he's going to be a monster. So they got two good players. Mike Muscala, is a shooter that they got. He was not a big factor, but he shot the ball. The big factors really were the vets, Al Horford, George Hill, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who we know is a player. So they did good. They played good defense. We got to give them their props. And I wanted to get that out the way. Now let's get to the real situation. The refs sucked in this game. They really sucked. Now we can't blame the refs for losing games. I mean, I think that's like a cop out, but they definitely were hurting the Knicks on Friday. Especially there were two plays particular that I noticed. Like I watched the replay of the game last night. I didn't watch the game Friday, but I watched the replay of the whole game last night. And two things I noticed. There's a move that Julius Randle does where he's on the right. He's on the left side, the left block. He gets the ball on the left side and he spins over his left shoulder. And he's left-handed. So he spins over his left shoulder and it's almost like a fadeaway shot. Now, last year, he hardly ever hit that shot. I would cringe when he would shoot it because I knew he was going to miss that shot. But this year, he's been hitting that shot with regularity. That shot, I don't know if it's because he's in shape or he just practiced it, but that shot is on. So a couple of times he spun on that over his left shoulder. The defender hit him on the arm and they called it a foul, but they called it on the sideline when it should have been two shots, or one case he hit the shot. It should have been 3 points, a 3-point play, but that was indicative of the night. And what happened now, they got into Julius's head. That did get into Julius's head. He ended up getting a technical as it was in his head because he should have got the call a couple of times and he didn't. And it messed with him. Now this is part of the progression of Julius Randle. So, and he understands that. After the game, his comments indicated he definitely understands that. Becoming a star in the NBA means you're going to get some privileges. They're going to give you some calls, but at the first, you're not going to get it. And you can't complain about it. You got to do people up even with getting hacked. Okay. And so, he's going to learn that. And that was part of the learning curve. That game was part of the learning curve. Now, We said the Knicks are going to continue to develop over this course of the season, that there were going to be some games like that. We already knew that. So we're not surprised at that. That's not something, okay, they should have won the game, but they didn't. Okay. And what was the situation? Aside from them getting in Julius Randle's head. Now, Julius Randle obviously is the MVP of the Knicks. The Knicks go through him. The offense runs through him, and it should. And we've been successful with that this year, and we're going to continue that success. But the refs got in his head, and that kind of threw his whole rhythm off in the first half. The whole first half, he was just off, okay, because it was all here. He fought back and scored. I think he scored all 18 of his points. I scored 18 points. I think he scored 18 points, and all 18 points, I think, came in the second half. So, yeah, he got back in the game in the second half. Now, but overall, as crazy as it's going to sound, the Knicks defense gave away the game. See, I know we didn't shoot the ball good, but what the news media refuses to accept, and what a lot of Knicks Nation refuses to accept, is what Tom Thibodeau said. And he said, for the Knicks, the keys to every game is defense and rebounding. Defense and rebounding. And if you recall, we talked about how prior to the Thibodeau regime, for the last 4 or 5 years, the Knicks would be allowing opposing players, guards, to penetrate into the paint and create all kinds of havoc. This is what happened in the third quarter of that game. So in the first quarter, the Knicks were playing great defense. As a matter of fact, if we're talking about playing 48 minutes of ball, good ball, they played about 24 minutes. Maybe not even that. I think maybe 20 minutes of good basketball Friday. So they played the first quarter was good. The Knicks started off the first quarter very well. Defense was on point. It looked like it might be a rout. Second quarter, they slacked up. Third quarter, they slacked up, and it was over at that point. And what was going on is, unfortunately, our Elfrid Paytons, our Austin Rivers, our Emmanuel Quickleys, even sometimes RJ Barrett, they were letting players get by them with matador defense. I was really disappointed in those guys. It was happening. And this wasn't even Julius Randle. Julius Randle was, and in fact, Julius Randle, Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson, and Nerlens Noel were playing defense. They were playing defense. At the end of the game, Thibodeau decided not to put Mitchell Robinson or Noel in the game for most of that. Mitchell Robinson played 27 minutes. Nerlens Noel played 11 minutes. And a lot of people caught that they should have kept them in the game for the defense. What Tibbs said after the game is he wanted to go small to give them a chance to hopefully run and beat the Thunder that way. It didn't work. So look, you can't blame it. The cat's not perfect, but now he had a strategy. It just didn't work. Okay. His strategy was to go small at the end of the game and see if he could, outrun them and get buckets that way. Bring me to the second problem. Aside from the defense being slack, yeah, they only scored 101 points, but Oklahoma, I think, one of the worst scoring teams in the NBA, so they're not going to score a lot. And they didn't shoot the ball well last night. The Knicks, they shot 44% from the field. They shot, 60-something%. They shot 67% from the line. They shot 32%. They did not shoot the ball well, but they beat us. They shot it good enough because we shot worse. But just before we get to that, they out-rebounded us by 15. That can't happen. They out-rebounded us by 15, y'all. That cannot happen. No, by 14. 62 rebounds they got. What did we get? We got 48. We cannot see, rebounding and defense is about effort. Now, why didn't the Knicks give an effort? We know they're capable of it because they've been showing it to us since the preseason and all during the season. Why didn't they give the effort? Well, could be they're tired. Could be they were tired. It could very well be they were gassed. They played 9 players last night. Friday night. They played 9 players. It quickly played 17 minutes. Quickly had a terrible game. His defense wasn't tight. He was 1 of 9 from the field. He just did not play a good game. He just did not. He's a rookie, right? Rivers shot the ball decently. He shot the ball decently. He played a decent game, all-round game. But there was a couple of times where they got by him, man. They just flowed by him. Knox. Okay, this is the thing. This is the thing. When Julius Randle is not having a good game, right? We are hoping that Obi Toppin would be the guy, right? So Obi's been hurt, but I would think that, okay, because he was playing Obi Toppin beside Julius Randle sometimes and behind Julius Randle, right? He wasn't starting. He was coming in behind Julius Randle or playing beside Julius Randle when Julius Randle moved to the 5, right? So when you have Julius coming to get the ball in the pinch post, and you know he's now passing the ball, and he's impossible to handle one-on-one for most players in the NBA, and so he's been killing it, spraying the ball out to shooters, and then spraying it out, and even if they don't get the shot, the ball continues to move, and then of course when he's one-on-one, taking care of business on a one-on-one situation. Well, you want Obi to come in and do that when Julius is not able to do that, right? Just like you have Nerlens Noel backing up Mitchell Robinson, you want Obi to come in and get the ball in the pinch post and make those same decisions, right? And be able to do that. He hasn't done it yet, but that was my envisioning. Well, what happened, what I noticed during this game, they would bring in Kevin Knox for Julius, because Julius was having some foul issues. He had 5, and it wasn't, again, some of that stuff was just plain bad calls, but he was having some foul issues. And so they bring in Kevin. And the thing, of course, that I noticed is while Kevin is improved, he made some really good hustle plays defensively. He's not ready to wear the man's pants yet, right? He's not ready to wear the man's pants yet. Like I said, he's another season and a half away from that. So you got to give him this year and his 4th season. He will be able to wear the man's pants, but he's not ready to do it right now. Okay. And so and that's why one of the reasons we had problems. So they got into Julius's head. He couldn't play his whole game the way he would play it, even though he came away with some good stats, 18.7 assists, 12 boards. But he could have been much better because they couldn't stop him. So there was that. The defense on the guard level was bad. They did not have any point of attack defense. At the 3rd quarter, SGA was doing what he wanted, getting into the lane anytime he wanted. Okay. And they couldn't shoot to save their life. They really couldn't, but now we weren't shooting either. Now here's another thing. 60% from the line. That just shows you must be tired. You're giving up penetration and you're not hitting your foul shots. Your legs must be tired. Okay. Your legs must be tired. Well, what does this mean? Does this mean they're going to be worn out at the beginning of the season and just don't have energy to go the rest of the season? I don't think so. I say it's time for a second win. And also let's remember, they're missing some players. This is a game they could have used Frank, at the point, at the defensive side, especially. They could have used him, to stop some of that penetration in the 3rd quarter. I don't know when he's coming back. This is a game they could have used Alec Burks, who would have provided scoring. Alec Burks could shoot the ball. This is a game they could use both of those guys. And so I'm not going to trip. Like I said, when they win big, don't go too high. And when they lose, don't go too low. They learn from this experience. They're going to come back and they're going to bring energy today against Denver. I'm looking for a comeback game against Denver, especially on the defensive side. That cannot happen. You cannot have a Thibodeau coach team giving up penetration like that. They just can't do it. The points in the paint, I didn't get that, but if I had to find it, I would think that they outscored us in the paint. Now the Knicks had only 5 turnovers for the game. That was good. But that was because their offense wasn't clicking. Once Julius was out of rhythm, our offense was just gone. It just wasn't clicking. And they only had 19 assists, which indicates not only just that the ball wasn't moving, they weren't having good possessions offensively. Again, what Thibodeau talks about, they outscored us in the paint 42-38. It was close, but that's another thing. They shouldn't be outscoring us in the paint. But that again, back to losing, losing the rebounding edge also hurt us, right? So they lost by 15 to 14 the rebounds. We can't be having that. But what I was saying is that as long as you're getting good shots, which means the ball is moving and you're ending up with good shots. You may have a bad shooting game, but if you can get good shots, your percentages of hitting them obviously are higher. What was going on last night is they made the Oklahoma City Thunder look like, the best defensive team in the NBA. They really did. They were taking bad shots. We were taking some bad shots, forced shots. We just didn't have any rhythm offensively. We just didn't. And it starts on the defensive end with the energy on the D. Okay. It starts with that. Julius, this is rare. This is the new Knicks. Julius was playing defense. Mitchell Robinson was playing defense. Nerlens Noel was playing defense. But the guards, I don't know what happened, man. Our guards just was not bringing the defensive effort. And we were just getting done up from the point of attack. And Oklahoma City was getting into the paint. Now, RJ, he did not have, his best shooting game. He did not. He shot 7 for 21. Peyton was 4 for 16. Knox was 3 of 9. Quickly was 1 of 9. We shot the ball terribly. Rivers was 5 of 12. That's decent, but that's decent, but we shot the ball terribly. Peyton, did hit a 3. I remember he hit a 3, but we got to be the ones getting into the paint. See, that's what we've been doing during the winning streak. Peyton was getting into the paint. Okay. Quickly was getting into the paint. Rivers was shooting the jump shot that was wide open because they were getting into the paint. We need to get into the paint. We can't allow the opposing team to get into the paint. So today, I don't even know what the injury report is for today, who's available and who's not. But you're dealing with Jamal Murray today. So you cannot allow him to go crazy in the paint on us today. We cannot do that. So that's going to be the challenge. We cannot allow them to out-rebound us. This should be a game one more thing. As you notice also, they were doubling Julius Randle all the time. Doubling him, tripling him. That was the thing. If they're going to continue to do that, of course, Julius knows he's got to kick that ball out. But what was bothering me about that, aside from Mitchell Robinson, nobody was cutting. Mitchell Robinson was cutting a couple of times. They just didn't catch him. He would do the pick and he would roll. He would cut. And sometimes Julius just saw him cutting, just decided he was going to shoot, or they didn't see him. But nobody was cutting. You can't get ball movement if you're not moving. Again, that goes back to energy. So we got out rebounded. Our guards were letting Gilgeous Alexander go in the paint at will. And there was another kid from Queens, Amadou Diallo. He looked like an all-star, and the boy averaged, I don't even think he averages double figures. He got 23 against us. Okay. You can't have people getting in the paint. The ball's got to move. You got to create good shots, and you cannot get out rebounded by 14. All of that is energy. So they just was the whole game. And even Austin Rivers said it. We didn't have the energy today. They were low energy. I don't know what they need to do, but we need to have some energy against Denver today. We have to have some energy against them. No penetration, no dribble penetration. The ball must move. The ball has to move. Julius needs to find cutters, and there needs to be cutters. Okay? There needs to be cutters. And Julius needs to find them. The best cutter we have that I've seen this year so far has been RJ. RJ gets a lot of buckets cutting and then getting inside and dunking from underneath the basket. He gets a lot of buckets like that. And so we need to continue to have that. We need to have some cutters. Okay. And, so that was that, it's a game we should have won. It was a team that I believe we're better than, but they just came out more ready to play than us and they beat us. This is the NBA, y'all. This is what's going to happen sometime. So here we are with a Denver team that was in the conference finals last year, who I already told you I think is overrated this year. I don't think they're as good, at least the beginning. Maybe they'll get better during the course of the year, but defensively, they have not been as good as they were last year in the bubble. So we're going to see what happens. But I believe that the Knicks are going to come back from this. They've shown that pattern this year, even if for those of you that want to be doubters, but they have shown that pattern. When they play a bad game, they don't come back with 2 bad games in a row, especially when there's a day off in between for them to recover and practice and learn. I'm expecting them to come back and be sharp today. I'm expecting them to have that ball moving. I'm expecting them to be tight on the defense from beginning to end, 48 minutes of defense. I don't know how they're going to shoot the ball, but I'm expecting to be better than 32% from 3 today. Okay. So those are the keys. Joker's going to do what he does. Murray's going to do what he does. We just can't let him get inside. Let him shoot threes. He can shoot. Okay. Let him do that, but no penetration. I'm expecting Elfrid Payton to get into the paint on Denver today. I'm expecting him to get into the paint and create havoc today. Okay. And so, that's what we're looking for. I think the game starts at 6. I think the game starts at 6 today. And so, hey, go Knicks. We move on to the next one, yo. So we got this one today, and we got a back-to-back. So there's a Charlotte game tomorrow. That's why I want to see what the injury report is, because I don't know who's all playing. Let's see. Kevin is day to day. Obi's still out. Taj Gibson is day to day. Frank is still out. Dennis Smith is still out. Alec Burke is still out. Yeah, we got some injuries. So all of these guys are out. Taj Gibson is out today. Kevin is going to play, it looks like. So Obi, Taj, Frank, Dennis, Alec, all out today. We'll have Quickly, Austin Rivers. We have the same crew that played Friday. I'm hoping that Taj could be back for the game tomorrow against Charlotte. They didn't give any status on the other players except Burks, which they said he'll be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days. This is the NBA, yo. They're getting paid to do this. So we coming out. We got enough horses to win today. And if we got the same horses for tomorrow, we got enough to win tomorrow. We just have to come out and play. Okay? This is it. This is it right here. So this is time to grind. Shalom.